Hey, it's Eric Rokich from fitnessbusinessinterviews.com, and today I'm really excited because I have a good friend, mentor, coach, and just an all-around good guy with me, and that is Mr. Pat Rigsby, and just going to be able to share some amazing information with us today. And what he's going to do is he's going to break down basically how he and his partner, Nick Berry, who's also a really cool guy, built up Fitness Consulting Group, and how they've took it from where they started to where they got it now. And he's also going to break down a couple of other interesting things that you guys are going to want to know and listen to see how you can help improve your business. So, Pat, thanks for being here, man. I really appreciate it.
Well, Eric, I really appreciate the opportunity. You know, I think I've always been kind of hesitant to do video interviews. Just that's kind of Holly's thing. Holly's done more of that, so I'm glad we finally got this figured out.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be cool getting everything up and out there, and you're going to be comfortable. We'll be good with it. So first thing, I know you're pretty open about a lot of this stuff. People know your story, but for everybody out there who really maybe is new to who you are and what you do, can you just kind of briefly explain your background, kind of how you got started into what you're doing now?
Well, my background actually started out, I got my first training certification when I was 21 years old, and I was wrapping up being a baseball player, and became not long after became a college baseball coach and head strength and conditioning coach at the ripe old age of 23. And, from there, I'm making next to nothing. So I'm training people on the side, training athletes, training a few just regular clients just to make ends meet. So that was actually my background, working more in a coaching setting and a team environment. Working with a variety of teams, not just baseball, obviously. I mean, national championship women's basketball team, national runner-up women's softball team. So a lot of different experiences there. And, after a while, the university thing kind of ran its course. I admittedly was not a great employee. I'm just one of those people that feels like I need to control my own destiny. And it was great as a head coach in some instances being able to do that. But, you still have the bureaucracy of a state university setting. So, I started to kind of have one foot out the door, and then finally just kind of had a falling out with the vice president. And it all just culminated in kind of a perfect storm where I was going to go out and I knew I wanted to own my own business. Now, I didn't really know anything about running a business at that point. I'd run baseball camps, I'd done some lessons, I'd run some speed camps, but no real business background. So basically what I did was set out and say, look, I'm going to give myself 2 years to educate myself and learn as much as I can about running a business. The only things I really like are baseball and strength and conditioning. So I need to be able to build a business in that, in that arena. So I went out, I did some stuff working in kind of a baseball academy setting, baseball camps, and eventually found my way. I was doing some training part-time, and found my way into, a big health club environment. Actually, at the time, the largest franchisee of Gold's Gyms in the world. And seemed to have a knack for the sales side of it, the managerial side, since I had been, managing teams for the better part of a decade. And, turned one training department around, ended out running all of their locations in the state of Kentucky. And that's where I met Nick. And Nick actually had come from working in a training environment as well and being a college baseball player, but actually was, a step ahead of me in the entrepreneurial side of things. Had bought a smoothie bar or juice bar, and it was subleasing in one of those Gold's gyms. So, I got to know him, and then an opportunity presented itself for us to go into business together and start our own training company, in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, which was pretty close to where Nick was from. We were both living in Lexington, Kentucky at the time doing this stuff. And so it was kind of a leap for me since I had never even been to Elizabethtown, Kentucky. I'm not sure I'd ever heard of it, actually. And for Nick to kind of go back that way. And we secured the rights to run the entire, service side of a health club. We would have the rights to training, weight management programs, the smoothie bar, everything. And not long after that, we also decided we were going to open up our own health club. And that was another hour and a half down the road in Owensboro, Kentucky, where we would duplicate those same type of service offerings. So we kind of jumped in head first, but both of us had some background in this. Both of us were very passionate about, running our own training businesses. And, I think we had a vision for what we felt like a good training business would be like. We had worked in a big, commercial health club type setting. We had studied, people who were really good at what they did from a training perspective. We had both come from team environments. And so we had a vision, and we just started to build it that way from square one, And if you want to talk about going into an environment where you don't know anybody, I mean, the gym had no members. I certainly had no relationships. Nick was the only person I knew in that entire town. We didn't have anything really set up in our favor, but, we were able to build a business pretty well in a pretty short period of time. We got it up within just a little over a year. In a town of about 23,000 people, we got up to the point where we had about 400 clients. And, Kentucky's not really known as a mecca for fitness. So,
right.
That worked out pretty well. And so that's really where everything started. We were constantly trying to figure ways to market ourselves more effectively. We're trying to figure out ways to sell more effectively. We were developing systems because we were growing so fast that we had to be able to replicate ourselves and add staff members. Early on, I was the primary salesperson, the primary service provider, and Nick managed more of the smoothie bar type side of stuff and handled more of the retail offerings. And so, I had to be able to duplicate myself and extract myself from doing all of that. And so we just basically did the same things that most of your viewers are doing. We're out there trying to find ways to make our business better. And fortunately, there was a lot of trial and error, but it worked. And we were good at documenting things. And, my background, I think, as a coach, where I had to run, organized team practices with 40 or 50 guys and, develop playbooks and manuals and that sort of thing, helped us, I think, initially create a little bit of structure. And, Nick really took off with it and took the behind the scenes side of what we did to really the next level. So it wasn't long before some other people were taking notice, other health clubs or other trainers were coming to us saying, well, how did you guys do this? How did you guys do that? And that was kind of the genesis of, the fitness consulting group. We knew we were going to be doing some consulting at the time. So we formed an entity to house that and started to, put up a little website, and I started to write some articles and do a little newsletter to, just kind of share what we did. Didn't really know much about any of the online stuff at that time, but, that's where it began. And I know that's kind of a long-winded answer, but
no, but actually it's good because you gave a whole story. I kind of want to break into some of the details of that because, you hit all the bullet points, the highlights, how it led up to where how you guys got started. Fitness consulting group took off. I want to step back and first thing I want to find out, because I've been thinking about this for a while. You were 23, head coach of a college team. How does that happen? People were 23 just coming out of college and are barely able to even get training jobs or coaching jobs. So how did you get that?
Poor decisions by university, really.
Okay.
No, really, I had some injuries and stuff when I was playing, so I was kind of hit and miss as a player. In my last year, I was a student assistant coach, actually my last 2 years. And the university was kind of in flux at that point athletically. They were trying to decide if they were going to eliminate scholarships and make a push to go Division III or continue on with scholarships. And the program had never really had much success to that point
Right.
and even with scholarships. So they decided they were going to eliminate scholarships and investigate the whole idea of going the Division III route and adding football, thinking that maybe that would bring, an influx of students into the university, just a different direction. And at that time, the gentleman who was the head coach, he decided he didn't want any part of that. He was having enough trouble being successful as the coach with some scholarships. And at the same time, I was making a little bit of a name for myself because I had taken an assistant general manager's job at, one of these minor league baseball teams where, I was a hitting coach, assistant general manager, and actually ended up being signed to play professional baseball that summer. So, I was getting a little bit of publicity in that area. I was getting a little bit of attention. The university knew me from my work as a student assistant. I was actually the athletic department student of the year, graduate of the year or whatever that year. So I had good relationships there.
Okay.
And they had a few people interview for the job, but it certainly wasn't a job because they were eliminating scholarships that was in great demand. Had kind of it was a part-time salary. And so, I had to piecemeal the strength coach job.
Right.
And I was the assistant sports information director. I'm doing a little bit of everything. And I got the job. And I was the youngest head coach in the country for 2 years. But, I think like anything else, we're all presented with a variety of opportunities along the way. You just, a little bit of it's a luck, but a lot of it's just making sure that you put yourself in a good spot. So when those lucky opportunities come your way, you're able to capitalize.
Right. And based on, some of the things that you talked about, you're like, okay, after a few years, I've had enough. I got to figure out how to make something else work. Have you always had that entrepreneurial bug? Have you always wanted to do your own thing, or was there something that triggered that said, I got to go do this?
Well, I think I've always had it, but I was channeling it through coaching because, as a head coach, you're kind of the CEO of your own little company. And in that case, a little company, if you're the head baseball coach at, Florida State or something, it's a big company. But I knew I was going to do things my way. I was going out, I was doing a lot of the same type of things that we do as entrepreneurs, going out, studying the people who are successful, coming back, implementing the systems, either defining my strategy and changing it, creating new, ways that we were going to practice, ways that we were going to approach competing with the opponent, ways that we were going to recruit. So, it's the same type of stuff. And recruiting sales, if you want to be a good college coach, you've got to be able to sell. You've got to be able to recruit. So the same type of things were making sense there, but it also was becoming readily apparent to me that there was a pretty low glass ceiling that I was going to hit in that environment because, this wasn't one of those things where, hey, if you do a great job, your budget gets better. As opposed to, if you're doing a great job as a business owner, your revenue gets better. Well, so I saw very quickly that all the things that I enjoyed about coaching were very consistent with being an entrepreneur. But the limitations that I didn't enjoy about coaching were the things that owning my own business or, setting out on my own, they weren't going to be limiting factors there like they were in a university environment.
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So that was kind of how that all evolved.
Okay. So we'll fast forward a little bit. You're in this gym. You met Nick. One of the things that I'm curious about, and I've had people ask me about, is, in your case, is you partnered with him. How did you know that, he would be a good partner, that you guys would be able to work together with everything?
I wish there was a great answer for that. It just, because we've had a number of partnerships, and some of them have worked out incredibly well. Some of them, we've parted ways amicably and moved on. So, in Nick's case, I think that the things that were pretty clear up front were that we came from similar backgrounds. You know, we came from kind of, you know, blue collar environments. We had both been involved in college athletics.
Yeah.
We both shared similar values and understood the whole pay your dues, and this isn't about immediate gratification or get rich quick or anything like that. So I think philosophically we were on the same page, and we both I think we're at a similar stage where we'd experienced a decent number of things. Even though Nick's, you know, a few years younger than me, he had more entrepreneurial experience than I did, and I probably had more, you know, the coaching experience and the strength and conditioning experience and, you know, team building organization stuff than he did. So, but we were both, I guess, early on in the whole process. I think both of us had certain assets that weren't completely overlapping that we brought to the table, and it just worked out. Now, you know, could I tell anybody that it would be that simple to find, you know, find a business partner that
Yeah.
worked with? Heavens no. You know, it has been hands down the best thing that could have ever happened to me business wise. You know, beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, part of that I think is good fortune again. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
little bit like the coaching thing, just right place, right time, being, you know, being prepared and at that stage where you're ready to take the next step. And
Right. And I
just,
mean that was the foundation. You met him, right? Everything else obviously is taken off from there. I mean, did you guys just be like, all right, we're gonna do this? Did you have all these grand schemes? Did you start like mapping everything out, or was it just kind of like a slow process? You're like, let's kind of work on one thing and then get to that.
well, gosh, I guess the answer is kind of yes and no. I'm definitely kind of a list guy and planning and plotting, and I think Nick is now for sure, and you know, at the time had some of those same, you know, same attributes, and so yeah, we mapped things out, but I don't think we had any idea where it was going to go. We put on paper where we thought we would like things to go and what our vision was. But I can tell you the vision we had then
Right.
doesn't even remotely resemble what our business looks like now. I mean, honestly, I think early on our real objective was to open up a dozen or more locations in, you know, in our region that were basically, you know, training based membership facilities. And you know, and we were really close to going that route. We were very, very close. I mean, to the point where we almost signed leases in like three different spots after we already had the two locations. So,
Right.
yeah,
And then you realized that it just wasn't what. Yeah.
but we've also recognized that things move very quickly when we were working as hard as we were working. We were enjoying a lot of success. And so, you know, with every success that you have, it seems to open up new, unique opportunities that maybe you wouldn't have had, you know, prior to that or even thought about.
When you had first gotten started, you were with Nick. You were training at the club. You said you ended up in there kind of taking over. Was this a different club you ended up taking over where you were doing all the managerial stuff, where you started running like the sales and the training department? Was that a different club, or was this the same one?
Well, this basically, when I started out, I was running the training in one big, you know, 35,000 foot health
Right.
club.
Right.
And we took the training department from, I don't know, $8,000 to $9,000 the month before I got there to, you know, 35,000 the next month. And, you know, I mean, in that sort of environment where everything is numbers, 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 that stuff turns some heads. So, next thing you know, I'm running all the training and all the Gold's gyms in the state, and moved my home base basically to Lexington instead of like Northern Kentucky and the Cincinnati area. And that's where I met Nick. And I was basically doing the same thing there, managing all the training and all the clubs
Yeah.
in Lexington, Louisville, Northern Kentucky, just, you know, south of Cincinnati, all that. And so that's the environment I was in there. So yeah, all
Okay.
the training, the sales of training, you know, anything that we were going to be doing, any group based stuff, you know, that was kind of all under my umbrella.
Okay. Then you had the option to go out and sign a lease for your own facility. Is that what you were saying before?
Yeah, we basically there was a club that was opening up in Nick's
Yeah.
home area there. Nick happened to know the two guys that were opening the club. They didn't really have any experience with the training side of stuff, and they wanted to sublease that. And so we stepped in, we signed a lease and had exclusive rights to all the training in the club. So you couldn't have independents or anything in there. It was just
Hmm.
pretty much, we were the service department. And, we did that. And we also actually secured the rights to open up and provide like all the retail offerings, the smoothie bar, supplements, all that stuff. So,
How did you
yeah.
do that? Like, how did you get in there? I mean, because that's a pretty big deal to just go in there and take over and do all that stuff. So what was the deal? How did you just manage all that and get it working?
Well, the retail side of it, Nick was actually running, a smoothie bar of his own.
Yeah.
So, he knew that side of it pretty well. He had a good relationship with these guys. So,
Okay.
we negotiated a very, I think very much a win-win lease that we weren't paying an astronomical amount in rent, but honestly, the training in that town. I mean, there were a couple other gyms that were providing training, and I mean, maybe between them both, they had 20 clients. So the training in that town wasn't going to, unless somebody came in there and really shook things up and did some things really, really well, it wasn't just going to fall in somebody's lap.
Hmm.
So, so it was a win-win. And we went in there, and honestly, I mean, Nick kind of replicated the stuff he had done at his previous location that he owned. And I went in, hired some a couple trainers, and man, I think we had $2,000 total. So we knew that to fund this stuff, we were going to have to go sell. And so from day one, I'm in there doing tours before they're even done with the drywall, trying to pre-sell training memberships. I'm selling. I'm taking sales appointments at 5:30, 6 in the morning, at 9 at night, just to get that initial client base built up. A lot of the time, I'm training those clients, but then I'm also trying to hand some of them off to those trainers that we hired and get them, basically get them to the point where they're making enough money to stick around before they say, well, this isn't going to work for me. I'm going to leave.
Right.
And before you knew it, I think the first month we probably built the EFT up, $3,000, $3,500. The next month it probably doubled, and it just kind of snowballed from there because we were out there. I was doing most of the selling at this point, and I was pretty good at selling at that point. I'd done a lot of it. I'd done a lot of sales training, and I started to teach some of our staff members to go and sell effectively. And so, being able to leverage a few other people allowed us to have that snowball effect pretty
Hmm.
quick.
Right. Now you ended up going out. You had the other facility. Right. You got
Yeah.
that doing the same thing, running the processes. At what point was it? Because you said your model at the time, you could go out and own, a dozen different gyms and facilities all over the place. What was it that said, all right, I don't want to do that?
Well, I think it was a combination of two things. The first thing that happened was, I talked Nick into going to this Ryan Lee boot camp. I had been starting to study the internet marketing stuff a little bit, paid some attention to Ryan, and was intrigued. I bought, I think, Sports Training Profits was the initial product, and listened to that and said, Nick, he's holding this event. We ought to take a couple of our staff members, and at this point, we're pinching pennies here. I'm
Hmm.
literally because we bootstrapped it and started this second facility instead of trying. We're selling a lot of training. We're having a lot of success in the first location, but we're using that to fund the second one.
Right.
So I'm living in a basement, and Nick and me buy a house. He's living upstairs, has a roommate to offset the bills there. Me, Holly, Tyler are literally living in the basement of this house. So it's not like, well, hey, we got plenty of money to travel to conferences and stuff. So we rent a van from Enterprise. We pile, I think 4 or 5 of our staff members in the van with us, and we drive from Kentucky to Stamford, Connecticut. And we're sitting there in the crowd, and I'm watching these guys on stage, and they all have some really, good insight. They're all saying some good stuff. I mean, you got guys like Cosgrove and Dave Schmitz up there, LeBady, and and I'm seeing this stuff, but I look over at Nick. I said, we need to think bigger because what we're doing here is pretty revolutionary. They have I think Pam McElroy and Jason Brown were the ones talking about business, and I think at that point they might have had 60 clients or something like that, and we had like 400.
Right.
And they're in Philadelphia, and we're in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, and they had a good business. They had a successful business, but I thought, if we can do this stuff in E-Town, then there's something here. So maybe we need to think about thinking more global instead of local. And so, the wheels started turning there. And, man, I think I probably didn't shut up for the whole 15-hour drive home. Poor Nick. And I'm a talker as it is, but poor Nick, he's having to listen to me ramble on about this stuff. And then we get back to Kentucky, and we're looking at doing a couple other locations. One's like 25 minutes from where we are. One's another like 30 minutes, and one's probably an hour. And we're negotiating. We're kind of in the middle of it. We even have an investor who's interested in maybe backing us, so maybe we can get into more than one at a time. And, I think we look up and we say, that's okay, but, at that point, I'm like 33, 34 years old. And we're already driving a couple days a week to our health club that's an hour and a half away. If we have 4 or 5 locations, am I ever going to be home? I waited until I was in my early mid-30s to have a family.
Mm-hmm.
I'd prefer not to, never get to see them. So, we started to sit back and say, well, what do we really want out of our business? We're building a business to serve us. So what do we really want out of it? And, we clearly wanted to, make a, significant living and build something that was going to be of substance. It wasn't just like some product that you'd sell off and, it'd kind of lose its luster after a year or so. But, we wanted to build a real tangible business. We wanted to have an impact. We wanted to do something that was going to really make a difference. And I think if you get into this industry for the right reasons, you feel pretty strongly about that. So, we thought about what was important to us and all of our goals. And, maybe we should, start doing more of this other stuff that we seem to be good at. The coaching, the teaching systems to people, helping people build the type of businesses that they want to have that can serve them instead of them basically becoming a servant of their business. Right. So,
okay,
yeah, that's kind of how it evolved.
Okay, so then you got that. Now you've got this whole other idea, this whole next step. You guys create a new business out of this. How did you even get started with that? Like, how did you grow your client base from there? Just starting when only a few people really kind of knew that you were starting to do this.
Well, the first thing that we did was, and this was kind of going on simultaneously. When we were looking at expanding, we certainly had already tapped into the online stuff a little.
Okay.
We had basically documented exactly how we built our business in a health club, and we found, a guy in the fitness marketing world that had, a following. We said, look, we've got a system that, frankly, it works really, really well. It's something that could be replicated. We're going to document it, and you want to JV with us to, distribute it. And, we did that. It worked okay. It sold a decent number in the beginning, but I think that relationship was short-lived, but it opened our eyes to the fact that there was, some opportunity there. So, I started writing a newsletter. I had a whopping 17 subscribers to the first issue, and more than half of them were our employees. We put up that website that I mentioned, and I'm literally like writing an article a day. and to the point where we get like 100 articles on this site, and we've never sold anything yet. And I come up with this seemingly bright idea at the time. Now, it seemed like it was cutting edge.
Right.
I was going to go out and find a number of people that were subject matter experts in the industry, and I was going to have them each do a chapter in an ebook. And if they didn't have the time to write a chapter, I'd interview them and transcribe it, and then basically we'd go out and would sell the ebook, but we would kind of be in the toll booth position. All the customers would be ours, but would pay them 75%, which now that's, standard on any digital product. But at the time, nobody was paying more than like 51% on ClickBank or anything. So we did this, and we were really lucky. We got guys like Alan Cosgrove to contribute, Dr. Chris Moore. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of really good contributors, and they go out there, market this product, and we get the list of buyers there, and we have an opt-in there, so we get all the people who are just interested in it. So we get subscribers, and so we built our list that way. And then our thing from day one has just been, we're just going to over deliver with quality and cultivate relationships. So even for like a year, we're not selling hardly anything. We're just sending out newsletters every week with a lot of content, a lot of information, trying to help trainers build their business. And, we've got a decent little list at that point because of that product launch. Mm-hmm. And, over time, we start to get a feel for other ways that we can help trainers. A couple more products, like a marketing product and a systems product. And then we launched a coaching program in conjunction with Jim LeBady. Me and Nick and Jim partnered together and launched something called the Trainers Inner Circle, which was a year-long coaching program where we really, wanted to work very closely with a group of trainers. And honestly, we were hoping to get like, 50 people are in there, and next thing you know, we have like 150.
Wow. Okay.
So that, it really kind of started to snowball there, and it's evolved.
Okay. And at what point was this where you pretty much shifted outside of the facilities, because this was going on at the same time? I mean, are you guys still owning or part of those facilities currently?
Well, no, our relationship with the health club where we subleased from was, I don't know, it's been several years since that ended. Okay. When our lease was up, the owners of the club were seeing how well we were doing. I mean, we were doing better than the club was doing. And so this, hey, wait a minute, this is an opportunity. We want to take this in-house. So, they ended out, taking, retaining the rights to do the service stuff there. And that was about the time that we were ready to make our leap. Now, we do still own a health club. Now, embarrassingly enough, I haven't been there in quite some time, because it just, we have a great manager, and it's very, very much systems driven, and kind of runs itself at this point. But so we've not exited that by any means, but we also knew that for us, our passions and our strengths were going to be in an area where we could really help other people build successful businesses, that maybe it allow them, I guess when you think about it, that's some decent freedom if we can have a manager in there running a club. And it's been over 2 years since I've been there.
Wow. So, yeah, the systems are in place, and you got good people working them, so that'll do it. Did you guys have any idea, like, the level that you could have built what you have now? Like, did you realize you could have gotten it to the level it's at?
I think that Nick and I have always felt like we were capable of building something big and of substance, because we felt like if we focused on adding value and not just extracting value, mm-hmm. There was going to be a lot of growth opportunity. And obviously, if we're talking about wanting to have a dozen facilities or something like that, we were always thinking big. Now, would I have told you that I expected to have 150 franchise locations before 2012? Gosh, no. That's exceeded my wildest expectations. So, yeah, some of this stuff it has happened faster than I would have hoped, and we've achieved some things that that I'm really proud of. But yeah, I always expected that we would have a significant impact. I just didn't exactly know how that was going to happen.
Right. Because you said, early on you started selling some of the products, like you had that list that grew and things. I mean, did you have a business plan with this, or was it just kind of, all right, one thing led to another and like, okay, let's see where we can take this in the next avenue?
Is both an okay answer?
Sure.
We've always had a plan. We've never just flown by the seat of our pants, but we've always also been sensitive to how dynamic things are. So, I feel like the way that things have evolved for us, and kind of in the internet age as a whole, the whole 5-year plan thing it's kind of a stretch. A lot of things happen in 5 years. I mean, Eric, you're a good example. I mean, you tell me how your business and everything has changed in 5 years. I mean, it's night and day, right?
Yeah. I mean, just in a year alone, things, change quickly. So,
with us, we've pretty much doubled our business every year over the last, really maybe since we've been in business. So it is, each time we do that, like it was hard to foresee, because we did a good job doing some business coaching, doing some consulting, and we'd had some success doing what we're doing. Ryan Lee and Jim LeBady presented us with an opportunity to consult with ProGrade because we had good relationships there. We had some success doing some other things. The opportunity to get involved with the IYCA came about. Mm-hmm. The opportunity to build the Athletic Revolution franchise stemmed from seeing the needs of IYCA members. So, I think that, we've always had a plan, but we've always been, it would probably be giving us too much credit to say smart, but we've always been observant enough to see that, when you're moving fast, you're trying to do things the right way at all times, new opportunities are going to present themselves. And if they don't fit into your 3 or 5 year plan, that's okay. That's just, that's part of it. It's a reward for doing things the right way. So.
Okay. One of the things, and we've talked about this before, that's interesting, especially with what you guys do and compared to some of the other ones out there is, you own now multiple businesses. And it all stemmed pretty much from this. Like I'm kind of building up chronologically. What was the plan or the process to kind of go in and, I mean, you kind of partner up with them, but manage them, let those people work. I'm kind of like the Berkshire Hathaway model with Warren Buffett. Was that part of an idea too, as you grew into things, or did it just kind of be like, we see that opportunity, let's hop on it?
Yeah, I think it was part of the plan when we saw things that we really believed in, and we saw people that we wanted to work with and markets that we really enjoyed. We looked for ways that we could add value. And fortunately, I'll use Dave Schmitz as an example with the resistance band training. Dave had been a member of one of our mastermind groups. So over a year, we really got to know Dave very well, and, just developed an incredible amount of respect for him, the knowledge that he had, the expert that he was in not just band training, but in, the band production. And we also got to really dig in and see his business firsthand and see what he had accomplished, pretty much just doing it as a small mom and pop type shop. And so when Dave presented us with the opportunity to get more intimately involved in that, I think we are always eager to do something where we feel like we can add a lot of value. We get to work with somebody who we feel like can do great things in the industry. Dave, I'm biased, but I feel like Dave's clearly the best band training resource in the world today. So, if we can go out there and help disseminate his information on a more broad scale, it makes the other people that we serve better because maybe they become better coaches. They provide a better service. So, we see it all kind of synergistically. So I guess maybe that's a little different than Berkshire Hathaway, and I'm certainly a fan of that. But, Dairy Queen doesn't necessarily mesh with the railroads that they have or anything. Like everything that we do, I'm certainly not smart enough to become an expert outside of the areas that are kind of subject matter expertise. So, you're not going to see me delving into trying to open restaurants or anything like that.
Right.
But if there's something that we feel like is going to add value to the people that we already serve, or if there's somebody in there that we can help build a business, then yeah, we always look at potential synergies there.
How many businesses do you guys own now?
Oh man, that's a great question. I guess 12 is kind of my stock answer. It always kind of varies, because you've got this corporation and you've got, 12, roughly 12 businesses. And then there are a lot of like separate programs within those businesses.
Okay. Kind of like an umbrella approach. Like you guys are up on top, then those people are in their place. They're managing those, and you guys kind of obviously push them in the directions they need to go that'll benefit them, but also your business.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the next step for you guys? Because you're constantly expanding. You're bringing in partners. You have all these businesses. Where do you go from here? You got franchises. You got everything. So,
well, the franchises are really, I feel like the franchises are. If I were going to say the next step, they're already here, but they're still the next step because they're our best solution. Over the past few years, we've gotten to really know the people that we work with pretty well. And, we see the trainers that we serve. We see, the things that are their strengths. We see the things that they may need some help with. And so, when you sell information products, you do coaching, you hold live events, you're always trying to fill in the gaps for them so that they can go out there and be better than they were when they, before they invested in what you did. But the franchises are our kind of best in class solution. They're, instead of trying to address one single component of the needs that a fitness professional might have, we're basically taking people that we, that we go out there and find that are really high quality professionals. And that's really important for us because the model doesn't work, in my mind, if there's not a high quality professional driving it. This isn't Subway where you don't have to have any culinary experience to own a restaurant. You need to be a great coach and you need to be passionate about coaching. But then we can wrap everything else around that person and say, look, be the best version of what you want to be. We can give them the marketing, the systems, the structure, the support, the live in-person attention at events, the accountability, but still allow them their individuality so it's not cookie cutter, because we're not trying to make curves out there. We're not trying to do any of that. We're, just trying to take the best people out there and allow them to have more reach, allow them to have more impact. And, by providing everything from a sales, a marketing, an operational standpoint, that's how we do it. So to me, that's next, even though we're doing it now because, we're less than a year into this with Fitness Revolution and already have over 100 franchisees. So, I think the sky's the limit there. So that would probably be my biggest focus, would be really trying to not only expand the franchises, but more importantly, I think really focus on cultivating the current franchisees. We've really taken an approach with our franchise that's different than most out there. Right now, we're even waiving the upfront franchise fee. So, and we're 100% royalty based. So there's not this flat, several $100 a month fee people pay or whatever. So we're married to these people. If they're not having success, we're not having success. So, it's important to, for us, the next step is making sure that everybody who's already under our franchise umbrella is reaching their personal goals. And if we do that, then, clearly we're going to reach ours.
You've done, you've got the seminars you've done before, done all the things, the info products, you got the franchises. Was going through the franchise process to get it all set up, was that one of the most challenging things you guys have had to do?
Well, it was more challenging for Nick than it was for me. Nick deals with that side of it more than I do. It was clearly one of the most challenging tasks that we've undertaken, but I have to give him the credit because he's the one who had the very involved relationship or interaction with the franchise attorneys.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it was involved and it's still involved. It's a process. It's not like creating an info product or anything like that. I mean, it's a very, very thorough, involved, expensive process. And, but that's good. I think the franchising is a great thing because it protects both the franchisor and the franchisee. I mean, there are a lot of laws in place, a lot of regulations in place to make sure that everybody's holding up their end of the bargain. So if those were the hoops we had to jump through to make sure that we were going to do things right, then I'm all for it.
Okay. Now I have to ask this because it is part of the franchise thing. You talked about how you give, your coaches, the people who are franchisees, they have the flexibility, so it's not straight cookie cutter. But isn't that the idea of a franchise where everything is pretty much in place so that they don't really have to worry about it? I mean, is it kind of like a borderline type of thing?
Well, I think that there's a difference between the idea of a franchise or what we currently know as franchises, right? I mean, when we think of a franchise, we think of McDonald's, we think of Subway, so we think cookie cutter, right?
Right.
But we also recognize that for those guys, they're selling franchises to business opportunity seekers who what they're doing is providing them with everything that they need to be successful. Well, if you're a business opportunity seeker, again, I'm willing to bet that there are no culinary gurus, nobody who's going to be on Top Chef that's going to go out and buy McDonald's, right? There are people who see it as an investment opportunity. So McDonald's has to provide all the systems and all the tools to deliver this predictable outcome. Whereas I think that we're completely different in the fact that we're very specific about who our prospective franchisee is. We don't want business opportunity seekers. We want quality coaches who are entrepreneurial. They want to own their own business. So we're going to provide them all the systems and structure for the things that they don't already have. But because they already fill that piece of the puzzle, the service side of it, then we're going to give them some freedom there. And we're going to provide all the other things that they need to be successful. Now, because we take that approach, there is more flexibility there. Because, some of them are going to be boot camp heavy. Some of them are going to be semi-private heavy. Some of them are going to have, a 15,000 square foot facility, and some of them may sublease from a martial arts studio. And our goal is to make them all the best version of what they want to be. We can take the guy in the martial arts studio and help them basically grow into their own facility. We can help the person in that 15,000 square foot facility create better systems, create better processes so they can scale up so the business doesn't own them. So, yeah, I mean, I understand what you're getting at. And that's, to me, that was kind of what I thought of with franchising when somebody says franchise. But I think the way that we view franchises is simple. You know what? Give the franchisee everything they need to be successful. if they don't have any experience in the subject, which is what would be the case with a McDonald's probably, well, then you're going to have to make sure that they can actually, cook a burger too.
Right.
Here,
Okay.
We're going to fill in the blanks for everything they don't know.
Okay. Now, you had just recently you did the post, like your predictions for the upcoming year in 2012. I want you to do a prediction of where you guys will be for 2012, not the industry. What you guys think by the end of next year?
Well, I think that we'll double again, which it becomes challenging to double each year the bigger you get.
Yeah.
But I do think we'll double again. I mean, I think that we'll see, twice the number of franchisees that we currently have. I think that we'll reach twice the number of customers and help, fitness professionals in that way. We're doing twice as many events. We already have 8 events scheduled for this year. I expect like the International Youth Conditioning Association to double or triple in size this year. So I expect a lot of big things, but it's not arbitrary saying that. I mean, we spent 2011 really building our infrastructure to be able to handle that type of growth. I mean, we've added a number of staff members. I mean, we expanded our office. We've really done a lot from an infrastructure standpoint, so we could accommodate growth, but not even, only improve the quality of what we provide. And I was actually just in the office today having a meeting, and one of the things that we talk about, I mean, we have a full-time person that their job is customer experience. And, just talking about more ways that we can enhance that, because we feel like with our business approach, with the model that we've chosen to take, customer experience is paramount, because if they have a great experience and if they're really able to act on would be what they learn at an event, what they get from spreading myself, or they're going to have success. I mean, anytime they are going to want. I mean, they're going to want to spreading ourselves, take that next step, taking on maybe that is project going from investing that they may have some upside, but maybe it's drawing us away from coming to our core project, a more intensive coaching program. So spreading ourselves too thin, becoming part of would be one. And then we've really worked hard. Anytime you deviate from what you're passionate about, it sounds funny because I know. And there have been occasionally times that have come up that we might do something that it seemed like a neat opportunity, and would start 2 or 3 steps down a path and say, that's not what we love. That's not why we're doing this. And then we'd have to back up a little bit. So those two.
Okay. Take me through, because this is what kind of just like warps my brain a little bit. You said you got that standard 12 businesses, you've got franchise, thousands of people all over the place. What's a typical day like for you? Like, walk me through your day.
I mean, I sleep till noon, and
we're 30 minutes a day, right? That's it.
Yeah. We have a very structured approach where we have some sort of interaction with each business, and everybody. We have project managers for everything, and those project managers basically have to report to me and Nick. We have interaction with the project managers pretty much on a daily basis, and we have a number of conference calls that go on throughout the course of the week. We've actually even cut back on that a little bit, based check-ins where people will check in, they'll say, this is what I got done today, this is what I got lined up for tomorrow. But it's a balancing act where I have my core responsibilities, and the way this works, I think, really well for me and Nick is there's a lot of duplication here. The things that I'm responsible for in every business are pretty much quarantined to 4 or 5 things. Yeah, occasionally we have to get outside of that bubble, if you will.
Right.
But if I'm always doing the same 4 or 5 things, then my task is mainly just to jump from business to business, but still doing the same stuff. And maybe that stuff's, I'm doing conference calls, and we're doing and I'm doing phone coaching or consultations or doing writing or something. But where I think it would be a real challenge is if I had to be a jack of all trades. And I don't have to do that. We have a structure and a system in place, and that's the benefit to having Nick as a business partner is there's not a lot of overlap there. So he's working on each business, but on those 4 or 5 things that he is the expert in, the go-to person. He's managing project managers in the areas that are kind of under his umbrella. Same with me. And, I know it's kind of a vague answer, but that's really how it works. Because if I had to, like, let's say that with the IYCA, my job was to handle newsletters and sales copy and planning an event. But then with RBT, my job was fulfillment and, handling customer service or something like that. It couldn't work. But if my job always kind of stays in that marketing, selling, content creation, or, delivery window, then jumping from one business to the next, really, I don't want to say it's not challenging, but it doesn't feel challenging because I love it.
Okay. You work from home, or do you guys have an office where you're together?
I work from home. We have an office where Nick actually manages. Nick is based out of the office. The staff is in there with Nick. A lot of the staff, not all the staff, probably 50%. So I work from home, and then we have a team of people that work in remote locations, and I guess they're project managers for things, and they probably would interact with me more, and then the on-site staff in the office would probably interact with Nick more.
Okay. Last few questions I have for you. You've gone through this. You're helping a lot of people build their businesses, achieve what they want to achieve. You've had to learn some of this stuff from other people. I know you're big into educating. You're at conferences all the time. Who are you learning from currently, or who are some of the people that you've actually learned the most from?
It's been a little bit of everybody. I mean, Dan Kennedy obviously is somebody who comes to mind when it comes to like direct response marketing and just understanding everything that goes into selling and marketing and business growth. That would be a big one. It's not really a person, but I am probably an absurdly dorky fan of Disney and study everything that Disney does because, one of the things that we've always tried to do to set ourselves apart is focus on the experience factor, and they're the best in the world at it.
Right.
So, when it comes to things like selling and marketing, I study people like Kennedy, but when it comes to experience, then, I'll study people like Disney. I study people like, Starbucks, a lot of this stuff. I don't even drink coffee, but Starbucks does a lot of unique things. So I've paid a lot of attention to them. I'm a fan of, everybody from Seth Godin to Bob Berg down the list. So, I mean, I'm kind of a reading jump. I read, I don't know, probably a minimum 2 books a week. I know I buy 3 books a week at least. So, yeah, it's. Okay. I've always been that way, and there's nobody that I wouldn't be willing to learn from. So, I mean, those would probably be the people off the top of my head. But honestly, anybody who has done anything, has some value to share, I'm all ears.
Okay. And what are some of the best tools that you've used to help, like you've learned from these people? I know one of the things that you're big, obviously you use Infusionsoft for a lot of the software side of things and email. What are some of the tools that have been really beneficial for you and Fitness Consulting Group?
Infusionsoft has been big, been really big for us. Google, of all things, Gmail, Google Docs, that whole thing. Google Docs it has been a great way for us because we do have people in offices, we have people remote, just communicating very freely. We have new project management software that we've been using lately. We had done some other things, but really we've recently switched to Action Method software for project management, and I'm a fan. It's really really pretty good. But I mean, those are the main things. Infusionsoft, the Google kind of suite of products, Google Calendar. So I can see most all of our staff's calendar at a glance.
Right.
And that's not something you can take for granted because I have basically three different people who potentially are scheduling appointments for me at any given time. So they can all access it and handle that. So
Fill it in.
so all those things are good. And I'm pretty connected, with the iPhones and iPads and everything else, just because we do deal with a lot of people in a lot of different settings, and that was one of the things that I've just never really been a Dane Kennedy guy with is I'm so hard to reach,
right,
or anything like that. I mean, when somebody comes on board with us, we consider them like family. So you know what, you don't ignore family. You don't distance yourself from them and put up mountains of barriers between you and them. So it's important for us to stay connected.
All right. Well, Pat, we've taken you from start to finish, where you guys come from, where you've come from, how the business is building, and what you expect for the next year. So a lot of great information here for people to learn on. Where can people go to find out more?
Well, the first place I would say would be Fit Business Insider. That's the blog where I post pretty regularly. You can subscribe, get a lot of good free content, and then I do a daily newsletter. I'm a kind of a writing fanatic, and it's it's a lot of content, and I'm biased, but I feel like we put out usable, valuable, actionable content for free that matches what a lot of people charge for. So that would be the first place that I would go, and pretty much everything else kind of is a spoke off that hub.
Okay. There's so many different areas and things topics we could have covered. So I'm going to ask you, I'll put you a little bit on the spot here. Would you be willing to come back on? Again, we'll do another interview. We'll break something down and show some people some details of how to really do something cool with their business.
Happy to do it, man. I'm all for the hot seat, so anytime.
All right. Very, very cool. Pat, I appreciate the time. I really do. I wish you the best of luck with everything that you have going on.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, Eric.